Hello and good morning. This is Brian with Bobby and JJ Radio. JJ's out. He's in Europe. That's all right. He called in. Yeah, he couldn't make it. But we're excited to still have a show. Bobby and I are going to be rocking it today. And our first guest is Mr. Rick Martinez, with founder and CEO of Green Seed Cannabis Company and my favorite, Weed to Know Basis Media. That is such a great name, Rick. Thanks for hanging out with us today, man.
Hey, it's my pleasure. And man, so he called in. So JJ called in sick from Europe. What a lucky bastard.
Yeah, right. Glad that you're with us here, man. And share a little bit about yourself. Tell us how you will be kicking off Geekdom's educational series. The first segment being on CBD. Talk to us about that.
Sure. So it's an exciting time for San Antonio, specifically San Antonio, because this is one of the first times that a major incubator like Geekdom anywhere in the U.S., let alone Texas and San Antonio, has partnered with an organization to specifically talk about the business of cannabis, which is still kind of a
touchy subject.
Very touchy, yeah. So it's an exciting thing, and we actually launched the first of 3 series this July in a few weeks, and then in August and then September. So it's a super cool, exciting time.
So tell us about the series. What are you going to cover?
So great question. So the first one actually coming up in a few weeks, we're going to have a panel discussion. So I'll be leading it. So I'll do a quick 15-minute overview of here's what the industry was, here's what it is today, here's where we're headed, and then we have an expert panel there with the moderator, and it's about a 2-hour event, and they're going to have free pizza and beer. It's free too.
Yeah. So tell us about the other 2, because it's 3 parts.
Sure. So we'll also have, we haven't quite nailed down the actual topics and curriculum, but we believe we're going to have one of the series about kind of what the investment startup kind of nuances are of the industry.
Because it's still new. It's still a new.
Very new. Everybody in the industry is a startup. That's the truth. It is that new.
So what's new in the industry? What are people investing in, and where do you see it going?
This is this is, and not just what I believe and what I see, but this is without a doubt. Imagine this. Imagine that back in the day, you knew Mark Zuckerberg and you were in his dorm room. That's what this industry is right now. This is in the infancy stages. It can go in any direction.
That is terrifyingly exciting.
It is.
All at the same time.
I love it. It is terrifyingly exciting. You're exactly right. But it is almost like you're sitting there at the nascent stages of an explosive industry. Yeah. Anything can be created right now.
Yeah, it's just so many people who have to get on board. So, yeah, and you have a company right now, it's called Green Seed Cannabis, which means that you pretty much know everything that there is to know about the industry. What major challenges do companies like yours carry CBD products have to face on day-to-day or anything, Federal Reserve, any of that stuff? Yeah,
so one of the distinctions is that we don't actually carry or sell cannabis products. We're a consulting firm, so we basically, to put it in ways that your listeners will understand, is we were called the geekdom of cannabis. So I work with cannabis startups and their CEOs and founders, high performers. I basically help them make more and keep more and be a more responsible cannabis entrepreneur. But to answer your question, the finance is huge. Merchant processing, banking, things that a normal entrepreneur would take for granted. It is an extremely big challenge.
A lot of red tape.
Lots of red tape. Yeah. And sometimes not even possible.
Can you talk about any of the companies that you're working with and what they're doing?
Sure.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, no. Actually, they're at the first event. There's going to be a handful of companies there. On the panel, there'll be myself, Green Seed, MJ's, which is Amos Lozano, and he's part of our program, and just a fantastic startup here based in San Antonio. It's a hemp pre-roll company, and they're based in San Antonio, so they'll be there. There's another brand new startup called Sensi. Startup to San Antonio, but they're actually part of a national cannabis lifestyle magazine launching right here in San Antonio, and they'll be on the panel as well. We've worked with some edible companies as well as some ancillary or non-plant touching businesses, and we have marijuana clients. We have some marijuana clients also in the industry, not in Texas, but in our program. We're a digital kind of incubator program.
So now, what's the hope when you go back to the educational series for Geekdom, that CBD segment you're putting together? What do you hope people take away from that, participants that join?
Love it. I love that question. Here's what we're gearing for, that we close the gap of misinformation and disinformation. It's a very polarizing industry. It's people who understand it and don't. And there's this huge gap right in the middle. So our goal and our hope is to tighten that gap, to create a new level of understanding. What is this plant about? What is the business about? And how it can positively impact not just humanity, but communities and even cities and constituents, and just the tax revenue alone can shift economies.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you're seeing people make their way to Washington State, Colorado, and it's like, you don't really want a vacation there. What are you really going for? Yeah. And then why do you feel the need to educate more people about, I mean, I've heard it before, but cannabis, like the reason is just so that way people understand.
Yeah,
ins and outs.
Entrepreneurship is unarguably one of the hottest topics around. You know, and when I went to college, you could not even find a degree in entrepreneurship. Now you can go to B school. And marry that with one of the most explosive industries in modern history, arguably history, period. And it's a prime time for entrepreneurship and teaching basic entrepreneurship skills to folks who want to get into the industry specifically. And so I forgot what you asked me, but
no, that's perfect. You gave us so much gold there. And then, what's the most important advice that any mentor has passed down to you that you could see that's helpful for a Geekdom member or anybody that's really looking into either own or start their own cannabis business?
Yeah, I can probably point to a few pieces of advice, but I think one of the most critical ones for any entrepreneur, regardless of the industry, is to not do it alone. You know, to not do it alone and not recreate the wheel. You know, even though this business is relatively new, it's really just a commodity. It's a product-based business or service-based. It's still a business. So don't do it alone, and absolutely don't recreate the wheel. It's already been done somewhere.
Yeah, I love that. So, and Rick, if somebody wants to jump into your upcoming event here, the educational series, how do they get in contact with you or whoever to jump onto that?
Yeah, so
Geekdom's website.
Geekdom's website. There's an event link on there, and it's totally free.
Okay.
They could also hit me up directly on Instagram. It's @PlanetBoy, and we have links there, and they can learn a little bit more about what we're doing in the city around the industry.
Okay, perfect. Well, Rick Martinez, we appreciate you stopping by. We'll be right back with more Bobby and JJ Radio.